Emma woke up before the sun touched the sky, her body heavy from another sleepless night. She looked at her children breathing softly beside her on the old couch, and smiled even though her chest ached with worry. She had to be strong. She moved quietly, making breakfast from what little was left, a slice of bread and some milk. She packed their school bags, kissed their foreheads, and whispered that everything would be fine even though she didn't believe it herself. She stepped outside into the cold air, the street silent except for the hum of distant traffic, and walked to the diner where she worked. At the diner she tied her apron and greeted customers with a tired smile. The smell of coffee and fried eggs filled the air. Her feet hurt, but she kept moving, one table after another. The boss shouted for her to hurry. She nodded and picked up the pace. Every tip mattered, every dollar was hope. She thought of the bills waiting on the table back home, and kept going through the day. She wiped her forehead with the back of her hand, and told herself she was lucky to still have a job. After work she hurried to the school to pick up her children. Her son Daniel coughed again, his asthma worse because of the damp walls in their apartment. She squeezed his hand and told him the medicine would make him better soon, even though she had no money left to buy it. Her daughter Lily told her about a drawing she made of a big house with a garden and a puppy. Emma smiled and said, "One day we will have that house," her voice soft but her eyes glimmering with quiet pain. That night as rain tapped against the window she checked her wallet. 3 crumpled bills and some coins. She took Daniel's inhaler and shook it empty. She wrapped herself in an old blanket and held her son close, listening to his uneven breaths. When he finally fell asleep, she stayed awake, staring at the ceiling and praying for strength. Tomorrow, she told herself, tomorrow will be different. Morning came with enough window seals. Emma's alarm buzzed. She dressed quickly and rushed to catch the bus. The rain soaked through her coat, but she didn't care. At the diner a customer complained that his coffee was cold. The boss scolded her in front of everyone. She apologized softly, her hands trembling. Later, she found a small note in her locker. Her rent was overdue 2 months. She folded it and hid it in her pocket. On her way home, she stopped by the pharmacy. The pharmacist shook his head. No credit left. She turned away, fighting tears. When she reached home, Daniel was wheezing again. She grabbed his hand and ran through the rain toward the hospital, her shoes splashing through puddles, her breath short. But she didn't stop. She pushed through the emergency room doors and begged the nurse for help. They waited for hours until a doctor finally came. Daniel was admitted for the night. She sat beside his bed, holding his small fingers, her heart heavy with fear. She whispered stories of stars and dreams until he drifted to sleep. The doctor told her Daniel needed a cleaner place to live. Emma nodded but said nothing. When they were discharged, she returned to the diner and asked her boss for more hours. He said no. She walked out silently and went searching for another job. That same evening, she found a help wanted sign at a gas station. She applied immediately. The next week she worked 2 jobs, one during the day, one at night. Her body sore, her eyes burning, but she refused to quit. Weeks turned into months, and little by little she began to catch up on the rent. She bought medicine for Daniel and new shoes for Lily. They still didn't have much, but laughter began to fill their small apartment again. On Sundays they went to the park and shared peanut butter sandwiches. Lily chased butterflies. Daniel ran after her, and for the first time in a long while Emma felt air in her lungs that did not hurt. She watched them play, sunlight warming her face, and thought maybe, just maybe, she was winning. One night she found her neighbor crying in the hallway. The woman was holding a shutoff notice for electricity. Emma didn't hesitate. She opened her purse and handed her a few dollars. It wasn't enough to cover the bill, but it was all she had. The woman hugged her tightly, whispering, "Thank you." Emma smiled and said, "We all just need a little light once in a while." That moment stayed in her mind, reminding her that kindness was a circle that always found its way back. Years passed. Daniel grew taller and stronger. Lily's laughter filled the rooms. Emma still worked hard, but there was a calm inside her. One day at the school ceremony, Daniel stood on stage holding an award, his voice steady as he spoke into the microphone. He said, "My mom taught me that love is not what you say, it is what you do when nobody is watching." The audience clapped, and Emma felt her eyes fill with tears. She looked at her children sitting together in the glow of the afternoon light, and for the first time she allowed herself to breathe. The world had taken so much from her, but it could never take her love, her patience, her fight. She had built a home out of faith and nights of quiet struggle. She had turned every tear into strength, every fear into a step forward. She walked home that evening, the wind gentle this time, the sky painted with soft orange clouds, her heart light and full. The city lights flickered below, and she thought of the years that had passed. She whispered softly into the air, "Thank you for giving me the strength to never let go." She opened the door to her apartment, the smell of dinner filling the room, her children waiting with smiles and laughter. She sat down beside them, and for the first time in years, She felt safe, she felt whole, and she knew that love had been her loudest voice all along.